linking up the transfer windows with the biggest leagues in the world. MLS did over 200 million in player transfers with a lack of alignment. I think with the transfer windows matched up, they can easily double that in the near future. MLS is going to become such a bigger player for significant names in the summer window. We are no longer going to have clubs that are a top 3 or 4 seed in their respective conference losing their best players in the final stretch of the season. Minnesota would be much scarier if they had Taniela O'Shea right now. The MLS window will also stay open slightly longer than top European leagues. And one executive at MLS, according to The Athletic, said, quote, instead of going to Turkey or Greece, those players will now come to us. Players that were sort of dead set on getting a move to the Premier League or La Liga, if that move doesn't manifest, MLS is now such a bigger player to, clean up those scraps and get that talented player.
You can get better players in the summer, which is now your off season. You'll have those players from the start. The clubs in Europe or wherever else are more likely to sell because it's the off season and it's easier for them to replace those players. And the other major positive is you will no longer have teams get pillaged in the middle, MLS teams get pillaged in the middle of their season. That is it's such an issue for the credibility of the product and the sort of seriousness of this league that a team like RSL 2 years ago, who is on pace for a record points tally, by the time they get to August, is having to replace 3 or 4 of their best players. To eliminate that issue is one of the best things that MLS could ever do, and they're doing it. So you're right that it's going to increase the level of players that you can get into this league because you can now go out into Europe where, as we all know, the best players are, get them in the offseason. There was that famous summer window or January window, for FC Cincinnati a few years ago where they tried to sign Weston McKennie. They tried to sign Josh Sargent. Both Josh Sargent and Weston McKennie didn't go to Cincinnati because it was the middle of the season for Juventus and Norwich City, and they didn't want to sell their 2 key players. That would have been a revolutionary window for both MLS and FC Cincinnati to get 2 high-level U.S. men's national team players to leave teams in Europe at a high level and come play for, let's be honest, a great team and a very well-run club in Cincinnati, but a small market.
I think about young fans attending Timber games and young fans attending MLS as a whole, which is very important about growing the sport. You want to get those fans hooked when they're young, something I think the Timbers and this market has done a pretty good job of. Will there be less fans attending the game with it being less of a summer sport? Less young fans, I'm saying. It is still,
Yeah.
We're still playing in late July and early August, but I think it is harder for a dad or a mom to bring their 2 kids to a game when it's going to be competing now with youth sports, which is a big one. The Timbers are usually playing on Saturday. It's always going to be soccer, baseball, hockey, whatever to compete with at the youth level. And parents, unfortunately, have to give priority to that. And just being over the school year, kids have less time to attend these games, especially when it's a midweek game on a Wednesday.
So there's confirmation there will be a new format. What that format is, we don't know, but the fact that they say will blend elements of the global game with North American sports, to me, that sounds exactly like single table divisions, because the division is the American thing, single table is the global thing. So new format is confirmed. What that format is not confirmed. No matter what you do, there's going to be a division where you lose a rivalry. It really sucks to not guarantee that we have this Southern California teams coming to play at Providence Park every year. They bring a lot more fans than Colorado and RSL. It's a lot more of a spectacle of a day. It feels bigger when they come to town. And to lose that, I think, sucks.